Welcome to Lego Chain. Today we're going to look at a specific indicator that I use to trade, and we're going to find out why no one's talking about this indicator, and did it indicate the top of the market? If that sounds interesting, then stay tuned for what's coming up. So at Lego Chain we use the TD Sequential Indicator to give us insight into the markets of what's happening, what trends, and what's going to happen next. So looking at the chart of Bitcoin on the left hand side, you can see we've hit a weekly 6 to the downside. So that means potentially we've got 3 more weeks to the downside to complete a 9 count. However, this could reverse depending on how we close off this week. If we close this week below 35,000, then I see us continuing our downside trend. However, if we close above 35,000, we could see some sort of relief rally to the highs of $48,000, and then we can reevaluate from there. So looking at Bitcoin Cash, you can see we've hit a weekly 9, and you can see it's not a perfected sell 9. So this is an indicator that this is not the top of the market and that there should still be follow through to the upside. But this is on the weekly chart. However, we could see a 1 to 4 week correction where we could see sideways or slightly further movement downwards on the charts. After the 1 to 4 correction, I do see a move back to the upside, testing those key levels of $1,400 and $1,650. Looking at the Ethereum chart, very similar to Bitcoin Cash, we've hit the weekly 9, and you can see it's not perfected sell 9, so it's not perfected sell the top of the market. So looking at the monthly chart on Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum, we can see that on Bitcoin's case, we're on a 4 to the count of 13 in terms of the trend is your friend, as they say, to the upside. But we're also on a 5 of a 9 count to the upside. In terms of Bitcoin Cash, we're on an 8 to the upside. And in terms of Ethereum, we're on a 6 in terms of the trend is your friend to the upside. And we're on a 5 for the monthly count of a 9 to the upside. However, with the Ethereum chart, we do have a spinning top which looks quite bearish, which could indicate a 1 to 4 month or a 1 to 4 week correction. So looking at the Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum 4-hour and 6-hour chart, we can see on Bitcoin we've hit 13 on the exhaustion trend line to the downside, and as they say, the trend is your friend. And with this indicator, this tells us we've exhausted our move to the downside, which could signal a movement sideways or slightly further down to retest that 30k level. However, even though we've hit the 13, we can see we're putting a higher low, and now we should see some sort of momentum to the upside, testing that 45k level. Moving on to Bitcoin Cash, you can see we've also got 13 on the chart. That's an exhaustion move to the downside, and you can see we've also made a higher low. Now in this case, you can see we did get a perfected 9 on the downside, which is in the center of the chart, and then we got a green 1 with a green 2 following, which kind of indicated that the move downwards has exhausted, and we should see choppy sideways move in action over the next few days, if not the next week, and with a potential high of $900 and a potential low of $500. Moving on to Ethereum, we're looking at the 6-hour chart on Ethereum, where with Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash we looked at the 4-hour chart. The 6-hour chart is a bit more revealing, showing that our exhaustion trend move to the downside is on a 9 and potentially still has a further 4 more bars to print to get to that 13. So moving on to the 1-hour and 30-minute chart on Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum, we can see they do look very similar in most cases, where it looks like we're printing a W pattern, which could see a move further to the upside. In Bitcoin's case, a move to that 42k range, and in Bitcoin Cash's case, possibly up to the $750 range, maybe even $800. And with Ethereum, we have printed a double top, which could signify a move downwards to test that 2,300 level and then a move up, or we could see a straight move up to around the $2,600 level. Now again, you can see on the 1-hour chart we've exhausted our move to the downside, printing off the 13 with a close proximity 9, which does indicate that we've exhausted our move to the downside. We've got our buy signal, and now we should see some sort of rally to the upside. The same with Bitcoin Cash. We got our 13 exhaustion move to the downside. We printed a double bottom, almost got a 9, and now we're looking for the move to the upside. As with Ethereum, we did print again a 13, showing that it's an exhaustion move to the downside. The trend is running out of steam, and now we should see some sort of move to the upside. So my bullish case scenario for Bitcoin, the weekly close has to hold 32k. The monthly count is still bullish. So my bullish case for Bitcoin, weekly close holds 32k. The monthly count, not forgetting, is still bullish as I've just shown. We could see a 1 to 4 week move sideways where we're range bound between the highs of 48k and the lows of 32k. As time does progress, selling and buying pressure does calm and it does ease, and then that could potentially begin a new weekly count to the upside. In Bitcoin's case, the MACD has historically never seen these lows and it's extremely oversold. So what could that indicate? Some sort of relief rally to the upside. So what am I looking for? A reversing trend, which we've potentially just pointed out on the lower time frames. So my bearish case scenario for Bitcoin, the weekly closes below 32k, as in this week. We could then see a 1 to 4 month correction where we go sideways, potentially to the lows of 18k. That's right, 18k. Doesn't sound real, but that's right, 18k is what it's showing. Again, as time moves on, selling and buying pressure calms, and we could begin a new 9 count to the upside or the downside. In terms of Bitcoin Cash, the bullish case we're going to look at is if we hold and close above $490, that is still bullish in terms of being in the bull market. The monthly count is only on an 8 of 9 as I've shown, and the monthly count is important because we're looking at bigger time frames. If we do have some sort of consolidation over the next 1 to 4 weeks, we'll be range bound between the highs of $950 and the lows of $500. Again, as time goes on, selling and buying pressure generally calms, and we could continue our trend count to 13 on the upside. And as shown before, we're only on an 8, so we still have potentially another 5 counts to go to the upside. What I'm looking for on Bitcoin Cash is some sort of sideways action, slowly trending upwards, which could indicate a new floor to the market for Bitcoin Cash. Another bullish case scenario for Bitcoin Cash is on the lower time frames. As we've seen, we do see that the trend has run into some sort of exhaustion, printing a 13 to the downside, which could indicate some sort of reversal in trend. So what's the bearish case scenario for Bitcoin Cash? The weekly closes below $500. Imagine, only 10 days ago it was trading at over $1,600, and today we're talking about it closing below $500. Insane. But nonetheless, if it does close below $500, that is going to put me into a bearish case scenario for Bitcoin Cash, and then we could see some sort of correction from 1 to 4 months where we could be range bound between the highs of $500 and possibly the floor of $360. And then over time, when selling and buying pressure calms, we could then begin a new monthly count 9 to the upside. Now looking at Ethereum, the bullish case for Ethereum is we've got to hold a weekly close of $1,900. So the weekly candle can't close below $1,900 for us to remain bullish on Ethereum. The monthly count, as we've seen, is only on a 5 of 9, which could indicate a potential 4 more candles, monthly candles that is, to the upside. We could be range bound between $3,000 and the lows of $1,900 if we do have a 1 to 4 week correction. Selling and buying pressure calms, as with time, as explained previously, and then we could continue our count to the upside. As indicated on the right hand side, our trend count is only on a 6 of 13. So what am I looking for? Sideways action. I'm looking for Ethereum to gradually grow over time, but taking baby steps rather than shooting up. And as shown before, lower time frames tend to show that we've exhausted our move to the downside, and we could see some sort of small short-term reversal to the upside. So our bearish case scenario for Ethereum, the weekly closes below $1,900, which will be great for some, but terrible for most that are obviously holding. And if we do close below $1,900, then we're most likely going to see a 1 to 4 month correction where the potential highs are now $1,900. So you see how support now becomes resistance. So I see the highs of 1900 and the lows of 1300, potentially slightly lower. And then again, as repeated before, within that time, selling and buying pressure calms, and then we could begin a new monthly 9 count to the up or downside. Another bearish case scenario for Ethereum is, as shown on the right hand side picture, you can see the spinning top, which could be a reverse of trend indicator, and it's quite bearish because the top of the wick is a lot longer than the lower part of the wick. Thank you for watching today. Please subscribe, please give it a thumbs up, and if you've got any short-term targets for Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin and Ethereum, please leave it in the comments below, and I'll catch you on the next video.